Hello and welcome back to the Comic Lounge. Today's going to be a bit of a fascinating one. Yes, I know I took a bit of a 2-week break from the channel, but I figured, you know what, I'm not going to try and force, because I had at least something in mind that I was going to do, but somehow my attempts were just absolutely miserable. So instead, I pretty much waited until I was able to pull this off again, which was to make a trip again to Reno, and which was not really the plan to really go to Reno and check out for my second time, basically my second visit to Comic Kingdom, but my first at their new location. Still, ended up having to do it, and so my second visit to them might be so far. Usually, it's always going to be your second visit is going to be at least maybe your best. You're at least better than your first. And what I end up coming back with is at least close to, well, 15 comics. So I know I have a little bit of a story for all of these, so without further ado, before I get to any of these and that, I will see you after this. The reason I end up having to pop into Comic Kingdom into Reno for my second time, but again, first at their new location, but second time overall in the shop, because I've already had documented my previous visit, which was my first time, and some of the stuff that I showed, and which was like, what, I only got like at least 7. This is definitely a little more than that, and there's a reason. But anyways, they were like my last minute option, because really, I had to take a trip to Fresno to get some things kinked out with some things with like the storage unit, because again, I was being back up here in Susanville, living with my parents. I left some things for the most part in a storage unit, but I had to get some stuff settled down. But I at least had something planned, which was maybe to check out at least maybe a few rural comic shops. One of the ones on my main objective was to check out A1 either in their Roseville branch or the one in Sacramento, which is their main hub branch. But the main hub and the main one, but the one in Roseville is like the hub, whatever. So that was my plan. However, things were not planning right. As far as timing and everything, nothing was not going well. And so I figured, you know what? I don't want to try and waste too much time trying to screw around in either Sacramento or Roseville. Just looking through the shop. That might be another time. Instead, Comic Kingdom is still fairly new to me. I haven't really been able to break in, so this one was more be like, all right, I'll finally make my second visit, but this is where I'll break into the shop and really kind of venture more around, see what they have within their back issues. So that's what I did. So finally I had time to go into Comic Kingdom. And one of the main things was they've got this deal with these comic book bins where the deal is, and these are pretty much for comics that were not bagged and boarded, but the deal is to at least 10 comics for $5. Basically, everything's like 50 cents a piece. So I figured, let me go through a bunch of these comics and see what might be within them. What's being hidden. Could there be some gems? You know what? There were some things I found that were really cool, and especially for the price. You know what? Some people may end up overpricing these. So some of these I did find. These are some really cool ones. So let's get into these. And which the ones you obviously kind of figured out were the ones on top. The ones I put on top of the stack were pretty much the ones that I got for at least the stack entire for at least $5. However, I kind of shorted myself. I thought I counted 10, but what happened was I only was 1 comic short. Still, the cashier didn't recognize that I only had 9 comics, so he still gave me the deal for $5. So either way, you know what? 50 cents a piece. I can't complain too much. So here we go. First one first thing that looking through the bins, some of the ones, and I know what I'm kind of looking for, but still I'm just kind of curious what's in them. But this one popped up, and this was on my want list for a while, and I'm like, okay, now I found a copy, now I'm going to grab it. It is Checkmate number 23 with the very, very cool Peacemaker cover, or at least Peacemaker artwork. Still, that is fantastic. I was so happy. So like what, for 50 cents for a copy of Checkmate number 23 with Peacemaker on the cover? I'll take it. I'll gladly. So I threw that one in the stack, so I had to have that. This next one was really awesome. Eventually, towards the end, I had picked out what I wanted, but I was like, you know what? I gotta look through more. I want to see what else is, because I was about to give up and just look through the stuff that's already been like pre-priced. So, but I still like, you know what? I still got some time. I'm gonna try and check. And of course, I'm kind of rushing myself towards the end because I had to also use the final restroom place. Comic shops don't seem to really tend to have restrooms, as far as I know. I don't know if I've yet to find one that has had a restroom yet. But either way, I soldered on. Then this finally popped up. I'm like, all right, I'm finally now happy that I was able to find, because I can't really find this character's comics all too much. It doesn't pop up. But what I have here is number 8 from the original Vigilante series from Marv Wolfman, and this is again when Marv Wolfman was still writing the character that he created, that was introduced in the new Teen Titans number. Actually, be annual number 2 with Adrian Chase as Vigilante, but Adrian Chase in general being first debuting in issue number 23. But the fine one of the issues from the solo series, especially an early issue. All right. I had to. This was a really awesome find, especially the condition, even though it's not super amazing, for 50 cents. Alright, I'll take it. Otherwise, I'm going to end up overpaying for a copy that someone might sell for maybe $5 or $6 maybe. Either way. Then, of course, through there, what led me to finally find that Vigilante issue was because I ended up finding some from the later issues with the, was it like the brother for Adrian Chase? So issue number 2 from the Faces of Evil sort of series that they were kind of doing. At least, was it at least tie-in, like a Faces of Evil tie-in. They did one for like Deathstroke. They did one for like Prometheus and Solomon Grundy and Jericho and all of those. But here we go. They end up having number 2 for Vigilante from this volume, which was actually the return of Marv Wolfman to actually writing. But then, of course, then they had like number 5, which this was a Death Trap tie-in. Issues like what? Part 2. That was like spanning from that to at least the new Teen Titans, or at least that Teen Titans series from that time period, and of course, even just regular Titans. And of course, number 6. So, not super great, near mint condition. They're more like good, great mid-grade copies, what they are. But you know what? Again, for 50 cents, all right, I'll take it. Then, of course, I stumbled across this one. This would be issue number 3 of the Identity Crisis. And just by on the cover, you knew who would I also be trying to look for in these bins. Deathstroke. And so there you go. It's obviously the issue where Deathstroke pretty much wipes out basically the entire Justice League. He mops the entire floor of the Justice League. So it's a very infamous issue for certain. But alright, I'll take it. It's in there. It's in the bin. I'll gladly take it. But then I actually found a Deathstroke the Terminator issue in the bins. And again, it would be number 25. Really cool, of course, Mike Zeck. I just love Mike Zeck's artwork. So, fantastic. And of course, I then found some from the Christopher Priest run from the Rebirth. There's number 26. This is right around the Defiance period. This is actually close to the end of the Defiance story. So, there's that one. Really awesome. And here we have it's like number 40, which is like one of the parts for the Arkham. I only have number 36, which is like the first part in the Arkham. So this is like, I think, the end of the Arkham story arc. Still, awesome cover nonetheless. And hey, just more Deathstroke. So at least I was fine to find that. So then, of course, I end up finding this in there, which was a King Spawn issue, actually. It's actually one of the earlier ones. It's number 10 of King Spawn. And you know me also, I like picking up Spawn. I love Spawn, and I've got a very good run of Spawn to begin with, so obviously I had to have at least a King Spawn issue, and so for 50 cents, I'll gladly take it. So there you go. Again, 9 comics. I was just a comic short. I had put some back because I thought I was overrunning on the number, but then I realized I ended up shorting myself in the end. Still, at least I kind of got the deal. But either way, you can't pass it up for 50 cents each for these comics, so I'll gladly take it. Alright, so that's about all the ones I picked out of the box. So let's get to the ones that I ended up actually getting that were already pre-priced. So thankfully, they just tackle the prices on top of the $5. So these are some really cool ones. Nonetheless, these might have been there before, but these might have been new additions to the shop. But I don't think I'm going to be able right now to afford, so far right now, the original pressings, the original releases from the 70s. But you know what? I'll do with these 80s reprints. But here we have is Marvel Tales number 214, which is a reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 161, first appearance of Jigsaw. And you know me, I am also a very huge Punisher fan, so I had to have at least some sort of copy of the first appearance of Jigsaw, so I went with this, which the only difference is this has pretty much been repackaged with some great Mike Zeck artwork, and you know me, I'm also very much a fan of Mike Zeck, obviously from the stuff I've been picking like Deathstroke, Punisher, the Secret Wars, and so on. I've got some Captain Americas. You know, I've got some cool ones nonetheless, so I just had to have at least some sort of, when it comes to classic Punisher and Jigsaw, this was obviously one of the ones I had to have. And of course, after that, they had the second part, which is Marvel Tales 215, the second part to that story. Again, this would have been the reprint of Amazing Spider-Man 162. And there it is. While Jigsaw was not on the cover for 161, I think it would be a much later issue. Jigsaw would make his first cover appearance. Still Amazing Spider-Man, which is the thing that kind of blew my mind when I was looking at, because of, you know, Jigsaw is just so much synonymous with the Punisher that it blew my mind when I found out. I was like, wait, Jigsaw also first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man? That's crazy that that there's a Amazing Spider-Man connection to Jigsaw as well. Besides even battling Nightcrawler. Still, while, again, Jigsaw was not drawn on the cover, because I think it was either Ross Andrew or Gil Kane that was drawing the covers for those issues. This would have been Punisher trying to shoot at both Spider-Man and Nightcrawler. But for this one, Mike Zeck decided to draw Jigsaw for the issue. So it's really awesome. Awesome nonetheless, since Mike Zeck was also drawing Jigsaw for that 5-issue mini that Stephen Grant wrote, so it's really awesome nonetheless. So I was really happy to find those, and again, $2 to $3 for each. Those actually, they were half off. Crazy enough, because this had been the grand opening for their new location, those were at least for 50% off for the stuff that was at least at $2 to $3. So that was really awesome. I got those really dirt cheap too. Speaking of some more Punisher, I was eyeing this one the last time, so this time I decide, alright, I'm going to grab it. But Punisher number 15 from the first ongoing series, not limited, the ongoing one from 87 and onwards. Obviously got this because of now they're going to be doing a lot more between Punisher and Kingpin, and this is a great cover, by the way. Wilty Portacio, I believe, is the artist still on the cover, and this is really awesome. Got for $3 though. This would have been 50% off for this issue, so this was way half $3. So newsstand, not in the greatest condition. It's not near mint. There's definitely a few sort of at least maybe a slight, I don't know if you can notice, but little like a reader, little creases on the page. Still, for $3, early Punisher. You know, I'm always looking for 80s Punisher, so I had to have that. Finally, at the end off the Punisher, I was eyeing this the last time, and this time I was able to kind of get it. But it is Punisher War Journal number 72. This is towards the end of the run. This is when a lot of the stuff becomes very less less frequent, meaning they're becoming a little more hard to find. This was lower printed, and some of this stuff is not very easy to find in the wild. So finding at least a copy of this for at least $5 is, you know what, that's still a good price. Right now, someone's trying to sell this for like close to $10 on eBay, but you know, I'll take it. Again, these are not very easy to find, so I want at least to have one of the more lower printed Punisher War Journal stuff. A lot of these Punisher issues towards like the end of the run, like around 94 to 95, are all going to become really, really scarce. So, though that was a really cool find. I knew that was going to be a great find. I was planning on getting that. And that's also, I think, the character Payback. That's his second cover appearance, but I think one where he really adorns the Punisher logo and everything, besides Lynn Michaels also appearing on these covers. So that's about it for all like more Punisher-related stuff that I picked up. Now, I had to get some DC. I've been trying to dip my toes in more of the Bronze Age to at least early 80s or whatever, 70s Batman. But this one ended up doing. But it's Brave and the Bold, 196 with him and Ragman. This would have been like, what, early 80s still. It's kind of the beginning of the Copper Age for me right here, 83. And it's a newsstand, by the way. It would have been cool if it was a direct. But you know what? It's not too bad a condition. It's still pretty good for the condition. Not like super near mint, but it's still better than like a really great mid-grade copy. That's what this is. A really good mid-grade copy. So I had to have this one, again, for like $3. So this would have been half off, so I got it way cheaper. So really awesome. Can't go wrong with some early 80s Batman, especially finding some Brave and the Bold stuff from this period that would be really awesome or really cool. So there you go. Especially for some really obscure characters like Ragman. Finally, back to some Deathstroke, and this was one missing from the Titans Hunt sort of story, because I've been trying to complete the Titans Hunt story. This one's probably one of the more pricier Titans issues I purchased so far. At least that was New Titans, but you know what? I wanted it. Yeah, number 73. It's a very cool cover nonetheless, with the Wildebeest Society trampling on top of Deathstroke. And this is pretty much the first appearance for Phantasm, which would have been with Danny Chase, who originally appeared as a kid in one of the earlier, previous New Titan issues. But this was him back as Phantasm, and this is like the first cameo for Pantha. So this was still a really cool one nonetheless. I needed it, so obviously it's great. Really awesome. So there you go, folks. There's all the comic books out. This time I picked up from the Comic Kingdom. Some really good ones, some really cool ones I found within the $10 for $5 bin. And there's some really cool ones I found within there. And then the ones I picked up that were just already pre-priced were still really good to begin with. So if you have any thoughts on all the ones I just showed, you can leave them all down in the comment section below. So until then, I will see you all back here on the channel. This is, Thrashhead saying, keep on reading, keep on buying, keep on hunting, and just keep on collecting comic books, everybody. Enjoy. Take care.